Yeah, hi family, welcome back to my channel. Last time we were discussing strategies to help build your prayer life. That was part one, and today we're moving straight to part two. So, the point that I discussed last time was on the second point, which spoke about building consistency. And we starting right away with that. Consistency, like I said, when you are building your prayer life, the pressure, you must avoid pressure. And one of the things that can bring pressure is you willing to pray for so many hours. You just have to focus on what is important to pray, and so consistency. I want us to take an example of Daniel. If you read the book of Daniel, chapter 6, verse 10, I wish we could read it, but I know the first part that I'm going to mention. It speaks about the kind of prayer life that Daniel had. It said Daniel was praying 3 times a day as a custom. In other words, it was something that he developed to do daily, even though, in Babylon, it was forbidden to pray at some point. He did not allow them to disturb him. And I'll use Daniel again before I move on to the next example as a very good example, because sometimes I hear people talk about the fact that they work so hard and, work, or school. But guess what? Daniel also was a person who was actually employed in the royal palace. He was serving along with his brothers. They were serving the king, Nebuchadnezzar. But despite the fact that he was, fully employed, working at the palace, but he still made time to pray. So consistency comes with discipline. You have to set time, normally, time that you will always come back to pray. So what I mean is this: when you want to build consistency, you must focus on a specific time every single day, because we are developing this every day. And the importance and the advantage in that is that when you are focusing on every day working, it will allow you to be alert of the time. Every time you're getting closer to the time or you have to respond to the time, it will allow you to come to your mind that, well, I have a program, let me go for it. It will be difficult, for example, if you say, well, I'll just pray every day for 5 minutes anytime. That's a little bit difficult, because now tomorrow you do it at midnight, the following day you do it at 12. And if there's no specific timing, sometimes it becomes challenging. But if you set a time, it really, really can work very well for you. And this will create discipline to allow you to have a disciplined mindset. Remember, again, our faith as believers, we are referred to as disciples, which is a word, disciple, word that really, really is very much attached to discipline. Maintaining this kind of lifestyle requires discipline. It's not something that comes naturally. If it was very easy, then everybody could have been doing it consistently. So it's really, really requires discipline, because again, your body needs to adapt that lifestyle. So the minute you are implementing discipline, consistency, either of time, a specific time, your body eventually will start getting used to it. It will adapt. And I'll give an example, maybe for those that go to work or school in the morning, when you have a specific time of alarm that you've set on your phone, maybe 4 a.m. or 5 or 6, every single day, the alarm rings at that time. So what happens to you as a person is that every day, whether you wake up immediately or later, but every day is like your conscience has already captured that there is a time that the alarm will ring and stuff like that. To a point that some can even have a dream. They can dream that the alarm is ringing, maybe even 5 minutes before it rings, because their subconscious has already recorded that reality. So the body is in that, is used to that. You realize that maybe even on weekends, if you're off, for example, you just wake up around that time for yourself on your own, without realizing that, okay, maybe I'm not going to work today. But why is that happening? Because you've trained your body to respect a certain kind of routine every day. It's the same that also can apply to your prayer life. When you set a specific time and you do your best to respect it every single day, in other words, you will kind of like train your body, to obey to that kind of lifestyle. Because remember, when it comes to our bodies, we have to impose this lifestyle. I'll give an example. Jesus, he was praying, he went to his disciples and found them sleeping. And he told them, be up, watch and pray, lest you fall into temptation. And he said something very important. He said, the spirit is willing, but the body is weak. Why? Because when we talk about prayer, we are looking at a spiritual activity, which the body is not naturally, designed to understand or maintain a prayer life. It's not something that can naturally come from the body. It's actually a spiritual desire. So what we must do is to discipline or teach the body that this is the kind of lifestyle that I'm supposed to have. So the body needs to be taught. The body needs to be placed to subjection or even discipline. I like what the Apostle Paul says in 1 Corinthians chapter 9, verse 27. It says, I discipline my body. I put my body to subjection. Why? Because the New Living Translation even says that I discipline my body as an athlete. Why? Because he has understood, in order for us or for him to maintain a certain kind of lifestyle that benefits his faith and salvation, he should not entertain the desires of the flesh or the body, of which many people fall victim of that. Like, okay, the body is always tired and the body is always desiring to eat and things like that. So when you give a lot of attention to that, you kind of fall back. And it is very important to discipline. I think I'll move on to the last point based on prayer. Last point I can also say that's very important to build is an environment of prayer. You need to have an environment or expose yourself to an environment of prayer. Fundamentally, of course, I'm referring to a church.